T-minus 16 weeks until the Dopey Challenge. Today on the Do Hard Things Today podcast. All right, Hal Morris, we are 16 weeks away from the Dopey Challenge. So that's a little bit under 4 months to go. For those of you that have been listening to the podcast, you know we've been doing a Dopey series. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to continue once a month to do a longer podcast covering more topics. But some of the people in some of our Facebook groups wanted to get a little bit more, wanted us to do a few more podcasts to be able to encourage people. So we're going to do one weekly. So we're going to do 16 of these leading up to the Dopey Challenge. And what we're going to do is just do a real quick story from the course. We're going to do some FAQs, some frequently asked questions, and then just a couple of encouragements, kind of that relate to the point in time we are in our training. For those of you that are listening, Dopey Challenge, that's the thing I do every January. That's Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend is kind of the crown jewel of the Walt Disney and Run Disney races. That's the second week in January, and so I've been doing these now for about 11 years. I'm coming up on, just finished my 7th Dopey Challenge, and I'll be coming up on doing number 8. But I did, I think, 4 of the Goofy challenges before that in the marathon. So I've been doing it for a while. A lot of people are jumping into this for the first time, so we just wanted to be able to encourage you. Once a week, we're going to do this. We're going to have our YouTube channel going too, coming up on these, and going to do some things with that. But this one is T-minus 16 weeks and counting. So I want to start with a story from the course, and what these are going to be is just some of the human interest stories that you find out on the course. And the first one I wanted to start with, and this goes out to you Dopey challengers like me. Okay, the Dopey Challenge is a 5K on Thursday, 10K on Friday, half marathon on Saturday, and full marathon on Sunday. Let's be honest. We come in on Thursday for the 5K, and all most of us are wanting to do is just check it off the weekly routine, where we are getting, let's get that 5K behind us, let's get the 10K behind us, and then the real business picks up in our 3rd and 4th races of the weekend. This first story I'm going to tell you, I experienced, this was 3 years ago, and this was at the 5K. And many times we're standing in the corrals, and I will say this, one of the issues that Run Disney is trying to fix is you have just all sorts of different levels of runners in the first corral of the 5K and of the 10K. So you'll have some people that the elites will be in that corral, and then you'll have people that are just straight up, they're walking from the very beginning. You'll have families, you'll have all kind of different things. And that has at times caused a little bit of gnashing of teeth, as we'll say, and frustration. And so they're ironing that out. But I hope the story that I tell you today will encourage you to maybe look at everybody just a little bit different. Sometimes, just admit it, us Dopey challengers, we get a little bit judgy, and you'll hear things, well, you're only doing the marathon, you're only doing the half, you're only doing the 10K, or you're only doing the 5K. We've got to remember that everybody's at a different place on their journey. And the story I'll tell you from 3 years ago is a journey. And tell you what happened. I was in the 5K. I'm in the corral, and we're up. I happen to be in the A corral that time. And I'm up there, and literally I've got this thing pegged down now to where I can get there at the very last minute, get to my corral, and I'm not waiting around for a whole long time. So I'm literally just wanting to get the 5K behind me. So all I'm wanting to do is just get it behind me. I want to go back to the room, sleep some, still preparing for the weekend. So I'm standing there, and there is a boy who's probably, I don't know, he's probably 15 years old, 16 years old, in that range, and he is standing there with his mother, and mother did not look like she belonged in a running corral. I mean, she was, out of shape, not someone you would expect to see in a corral, and so I'm just standing there, and you kind of start, I was like, hey, it's, what are they're honestly, I'm thinking, well, they're obviously going to be walking from the beginning, so I don't want to get right behind them.
Right.
And so anyway, we're as we're getting closer and closer to the start of the race, I noticed that she started crying, and tears were just streaming down her face, and her son put his arm around her and said, don't worry, Dad'll help you get through this. And something just struck me at that point. I'm like, okay, there's a story here. So I just kind of butted in, for lack of a better term, and I just said, hey, is this your first time doing this? And at that point, I kind of, honestly, I felt a little bit bad because she's upset, and I'm sitting there worried about getting behind them and and then walking, and so I said, hey, is this your first time? And she said, yes, my first time. She said, I've been training for about 2 months, and she said my husband came down and did the first Dopey challenge, which would have been, I think, 4 years before that, the very first one, and then she started crying. So I knew at that point, I said, okay, I've stepped into something here, and then she proceeded to tell me the Cliff Notes version of what had happened. He had come down, done the Dopey challenge, and then very shortly after that had developed, found a lump, and he had developed cancer, and 3 months later he was dead.
Oh man! Yeah.
And again, that had happened 4 years before they were standing there in that 5K corral thing, and then she told me, she said he loved doing this, and he always wanted me to do this with him, and I just never would. And it's a commitment that I made to my son to do this, that I would come and I would do the 5K with him.
Right.
And I kind of stepped back for a second, and it made me realize at that point that for some people standing in those corrals on the 5K day, it is their crowning achievement. I mean, it is much bigger for them than it is for those of us doing the Dopey challenge.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know her name, don't know anything else other than that story. But they did the 5K, and I gotta believe they finished it and made it through. And she did what she needed to do to heal from what had happened. But yeah, her husband 4 years before had done the Dopey challenge, and then was stricken with cancer, and died shortly after. It was not a long. She said 3 months. I don't know any more details than that, but it just kind of it made me step back, and from that point forward, I always looked at people a little bit different in those corrals as to, what, there's an untold story here for these people.
Yeah.
And especially on those first 2 days when people are, sometimes we look like, I just want to get this over with so we can get to the weekend and start with the big races. For many of those people there, that's their big thing. And so try to use a little bit of patience, have a little bit of grace with people, and if somebody's out there walking the entire 5K or 10K, let them do it. You don't know, and don't be a jerk about it and tell them to move over. And granted, if you are walking, you don't need to be 4 abreast doing it, but let those people have their moment and let them, because you just never know. And like I said, if I wouldn't have seen her crying and interacted with her on that, I would have never known that, and that was a real inspiration to me. So As we're 16 weeks away, I wanted to share that story with you of that there are people that you're going to encounter on race weekend that are in a different battle than just a physical one. And so let them have their moment, and always try to encourage those that are around you. So that's the story from the course for this one.
Story.
Yeah, it's a true one, and so I hope that encourages you. So now, part 2.
Yeah, so you've received a few questions here.
Yep.
On the Dopey Challenge. So one of them is, do I need to run a full 26 miles in training?
Okay, this is an often asked question about marathons as people are training for a marathon, and with the Dopey Challenge being even a bigger task to take on. I think this goes, and you will know the answer to this yourself by where you are mentally with your race preparation. Is it absolutely crucial to do a 26 miler? I think if you run 20 miles in your training runs, I think physiologically that is enough to be able to get you to the finish line. But I think mentally is where you got to ask yourself the question if you need to. For some people, they need to run 26 miles in training so they can say, especially if it's your first one, where they can say, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I can run 26 miles.
Yeah.
And how I think we all know ourselves on that of whether we need to or not. For many, getting that 20-miler in, this is what you got to remember. The further you go, the higher the risk of injury. There's a higher risk of injury when you're at mile 23 than when you're at mile 20. Just like there's a higher risk of injury when you're at mile 16 than mile 13. It's just you're pounding your body. Sometimes our form gets a little bit out of whack the longer we go. So there is a risk the further you run. But mentally, if you need to be able to say that you ran 26 miles to be able to get you through the deep waters of the Dopey Challenge, then do it. If that's not a big deal mentally for you, then I think, a 20-miler is plenty for that.
Okay. Next question. Is it possible to PR, personal record, or personal best at Disney?
Yeah, 100% is possible, with a caveat. Disney is flat down there. I mean, it's flat. The only real elevation you've got is when you go.
You got a bridge.
Yeah, you got a couple of bridges that you run across, and then when you're going into the Magic Kingdom, you run down a hill, then you run back up a hill. You're actually going underneath the man-made lake. There's a little canal there, but really no elevation to speak of. So it can be a super fast course for you. So that's the short answer. The longer answer is, I don't know why you would want to PR at Disney. Man, you pay a lot of money to go down to Disney to run, and you're not paying to go run on a super fast course.
Yeah.
You're paying a lot of money to run at Disney to be able to enjoy the characters, take in all the sights, enjoy the atmosphere, all of those things that ultimately slow you down.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you're going to want to get a picture in front of the castle. You're going to want to get a picture, at Expedition Everest with that in your background. But there's a lot of things you're going to want to do. You might want to ride a ride or two while you're going through. In my opinion, it's not the race to take on to get a PR in. There's some local races that you can find, and even some of the bigger races that don't have all the theming and everything that goes into a Walt Disney World event, that would be much, in my mind, it'd be much better served to go for a PR there. I just think you're just paying a whole lot of money to go participate in this event, and for people that are paying this much money to go do it, most of them are wanting the experience of the Disney thing. Okay. So course-wise, the course is absolutely set up for you to be able to get a PR in, because it is flat and fast. But from an experience standpoint, I think you might be missing the mark if you try to do that.
Okay. Next question. Should I do the parks? And I guess they mean before or after, during the whole experience, or during the run?
Yeah, that would be get asked that question a lot of, should I do the parks while I'm down there? Again, it's a personal thing for you. I'll say this: if your family's going down with you, more than likely leading up to this race, your family has sacrificed a lot of time with you as you've been training. I would say if your family's going there and this is a one-time thing or this is a big trip for you guys, I'd say 100% do the parks. And just understand that, you know what, it goes back to the last question. I'm not going to have my fastest race.
Right.
But I'm going to go down and I'm going to put myself in a position where I can complete this challenge, but I can also do things with my family and we can go to the parks and enjoy them. I don't think you want to have a marathon. You know, see what I did there, marathon. Don't have a marathon at the parks.
Yeah.
And stay, get there from morning to close. One strategy that has worked well for me before and for others is to, especially on the first 2 days, on the 5K and 10K day, you're back to the room like super early. You can go back to the room, take a shower, eat a quick breakfast, get on the bus, and be at park opening. Okay. And so you could do that with your family, stay till like lunchtime, and then you could even head back if you wanted to, and they could stay. But that way you're actually getting to spend time with them there, but you're not killing yourself. With it. So I would say that's but like for me, I've been doing it for so long, and sometimes I'm down there solo. It's not a big deal for me to hit the parks when I'm down there. But again, we've gone to Disney bukus of times. If this is a one-time deal for you, man, enjoy the parks. That's why you're at Disney, to be able to get that whole experience. So experience it all while you're there. But if it's not important to you, if it's something that's y'all done before, blah blah blah, then take the time to be able to just enjoy. Maybe go down to downtown Disney and eat some good food, and just kind of relax on your off time from the running.
Okay.
So, a couple of encouragements I want to leave you with. 16 weeks out, and I think these are very relevant to where we are right now, which is less than 4 months away from the Dopey Challenge starting. Number one, I've said this before on the other podcast, stay consistent. It's the most important thing you can do right now. We don't know the answer of whether this race will happen or not, but there is some encouraging news. Is there are several races in Florida that are still scheduled for over in November. There's an Ironman that's still scheduled. There's some other races that are still scheduled. So I feel better today than I did the last time I was talking to you that this race will happen. Stay consistent. Get your runs in, whatever plan you're following. Stay consistent. Get those in. And I'm telling you, it will pay off whenever the time comes and you show up at Disney and you are ready to run. The second thing that you can still do right now in this part of your training block, which when you get into the deep part of it, it's actually hard to do this. But right now, if you got 10 pounds to lose, go ahead and lose it. That makes a big difference in your training, in the pounding that you're putting on your knees and your whole body. Go ahead and lose that weight now. Cut out the junk that you've been eating and all that other stuff that causes us to pack on those extra few pounds. If you can lose the weight that you need to lose now, like I said, we're far enough away from it now to where you're not going to be so deep into the big mileage and how, I mean, when you're really doing the big miles in training, it's hard, and it sounds backwards. It's hard to lose weight when you're in the middle of big training because you've got to be able to take in plenty of calories to be able to run and recover and all of that. So now's a good time to be able to shave off those extra pounds that you've got.
Yeah, so, vacations are over. And
yeah.
School, hopefully, for most everybody's getting back to routine. So
Yep. So that routine's
to get
in.
Into a routine of.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, and it makes a big difference when you're out there pounding the pavement over and over and over. If you just go get a 10-pound weight at the gym and just carry that around. And just imagine losing that and being able to, be more efficient and more effective in your running. So 16 weeks away. Hopefully you enjoyed the story from the A corral in the 5K from 3 years ago. And hopefully these questions and encouragements will help you along your way. We'll be here again next week. We'll be 15 weeks away next week. And before you snap your fingers and turn around, we're going to be standing at the start line of the Dopey Challenge. It's up to you right now whether you're going to be ready or not. And just remember, if you'll do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.